Media. As consumers, we are bombarded by it at every turn, like the Incredible Hulk being bombarded by gamma rays. But what makes some media endure, while others are banished to the forgotten black hole of obscurity, never to be heard from again? Who or what decides this? Hetero life mates Steve and Yahel want to know, and they want to know now. This is Obscurity Now. What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Obscurity Now, the show where we take a look at weird and almost forgotten pieces of media, and then we decide if they should be remembered for all of human history or tossed into the black hole of obscurity and never heard from again. My name is Steve, and with me is my co-host, a guy who's obviously growing out his hair so he can be in the No Holds Barred sequel. It's
Yahel. How are you, Steve?
Good. Trying to make a vague reference to, the Oscars and everything. I don't think anybody got it. Did you get it?
No. Is there a No Holds Barred sequel?
No, because he was like, Dana, love the hair. Going out for G.I. Jane 2? And I was, the sad thing is I was thinking about that intro days in advance, Yahel. Days. And I just couldn't make it work. But
so I'll keep my wife's name out of your mouth.
You don't have a wife.
Keep your wife's name out of your mouth too, by the way.
Hey, Star Trek. Why don't you get it together? That's your wife, right? Star Trek?
Yeah.
I figured as much. Yeah. Speaking of things.
But yeah, so you're doing good, Steve. Everything's good in your world. Are you maybe in a position to use your influence in one industry to get a cartoon made about yourself?
Oh man, I wish. But you know what?
With worse hair?
If I was to do that, I would make sure that cartoon is of some sort of substance and or quality.
Well, listen. Go ahead.
Not saying that what we're about to talk about is lacking in either of those apartments or departments.
Right.
Yeah.
No, there's substances that were definitely at play. There's substance. Everything is made of substance if you think about it, right? Everything has substance.
I don't even think they had the right kind of drugs when they were making this cartoon. And that cartoon that we are referencing is Bruno the Kid. Let's back up a second here. There's a lot of crazy crap that's been going on in the past week or two. Of course, we already referenced the I'm so tired of even hearing about it at this point. The whole Will Smith
You're so
thing.
tired of hearing about it.
And I brought it up
of the show.
I was trying to be funny. But I failed miserably. Kind of like the piece of media we're about to talk about. Spoiler alert. And another thing that happened was Bruce Willis has decided but I guess because of his condition, it's not alopecia, surprisingly enough. He's decided that he's going to retire from acting, which I don't know how much Red Letter Media you watch.
I indeed know the video you're referencing. Red Letter Media, about a month ago, did a video on some of Bruce's recent straight to video on demand features, where he's in it for 10-15 minutes maybe total.
Barely acting, just reciting lines that is told to him by a earpiece. I don't have anyone telling me lines. I'll tell you that. It's au naturel.
I'm sure Vince McMahon is in your ear right now. That's not what I said to reference.
What? Job to Yahel? Never.
Dude, have you noticed that Vince McMahon is nearly unintelligible these days?
Oh, I haven't really.
He talks like this. He talks like this now, Steve. And Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's very good to see you.
Weird. Is that his on-air persona, or is that how he is all the time now?
I think it's because of his age. Just his voice has degraded. But speaking of degrading, back to what was going on with Bruce Willis's movies, and the Red Letter Media guys were kind of calling him out a bit. They caught that he had an earpiece, which I didn't notice until they pointed it out, and then you can't help but notice, of course.
Right.
And that they use lots of stand-ins, and I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't they at one point, maybe 2/3 of the way through their video, kind of muse that maybe there's something. That there could maybe be something wrong with him?
They did indeed. And it was, like I said, it was revealed this week, I think. And I thought it would be a good time to talk about some of Bruce Willis's lesser known projects. Like my first thought was to go Hudson Hawk. You ever see Hudson Hawk?
I have seen Hudson Hawk. I like Hudson Hawk.
Me too, actually. I mean, we can still do that one later, but I was like, nah, Hudson Hawk's too obvious. Let's do his cartoon show, Bruno the Kid. But before we get to that, well, we've already talked about some of the bad of Bruce already, and that's his later filmography. I don't know if anyone listening has seen any of his recent work, but it's really not good. It's not even like bad good. It's just pretty bad. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, it's not fun. It's like movies that are like competent adjacent, like they're almost
right,
competent.
almost there. Yeah.
Like there's almost a cohesive story. It's almost okay, but then
but
they're definitely not worth watching.
But because of that, I don't know if it's because of that video or an article I watched on or read on No Film School, but because of Bruce Willis, I learned the term geezer teaser, which is like, have you heard that term?
I think I heard it on Red Letter Media video.
In case you're wondering, it's like these direct video on demand movies that have like a aging star in it, like Bruce Willis, Steven Seagal, John Cusack. They're in it for like, I don't know, 15 minutes. They basically just stand around in a room. And I guess Bruce Willis gets like $1 million or $2 million just to be in these films, I guess they still play big overseas or something. So good.
Yeah, and I guess Liam Neeson is kind of like the only like geezer doing like these like movies that like actually go to theaters still.
Right.
But Liam Neeson's actually in his movies like throughout.
Yeah, he's still trying. I watched that. I think it's called like Ice Road on Netflix. Oh man, that was pretty hilarious.
Like good hilarious, or like it was so bad it was funny.
So bad it was funny.
Yeah, he basically just does like Taken.
Yeah. It's all Taken now, and I'm sure it goes. He takes it all right to his bank account.
Hard to blame him. I mean, I can't wait till I lose a sellout on my YouTube channel. And now that I've hit 100,000 subscribers, I think it's time to sell out and tell everybody about Raid Shadow Legends.
Oh,
the hot new game.
Hey. They're not giving this channel any money, so you save that for wrestling with gaming.
All right. But I will say, Steve, it is the new sex, from what I understand.
All right. So we talked about some bad of Bruce Willis. Let's talk about some good. What are 3-ish of your favorite Bruce Willis films?
Ooh, I'm glad we didn't talk about.
It was in the format, brother. It was in the format.
Oh, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like Die Hard.
Good. All right. Okay. So all 3 Die Hards. The first 3 are your favorite.
I'm not done. Okay. I'm not done. I like Fifth Element a lot.
Okay.
That's a fun one.
Disney's Blade Runner, I call it.
Oh yeah. That's good. Fair. He did. Oh my God. There's some other sci-fi movie that he did.
12 Monkeys, perhaps.
Yeah, 12 Monkeys.
That's on my list. That's basically like number 3. I mean, I'm sorry.
Can we have a 4th?
Yeah, go for it.
Bruno the Kid.
The animated movie.
Yeah, I binged it this week, and that's why I didn't read the format. I'm too busy binging all 36 episodes in 2 days.
That's why I hired you for this show, because of your dedication.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course, Die Hard is a classic film. I like the first 3. I think any of the ones after that are we could probably just skip them. But aside from that, of course, like Pulp Fiction, which isn't a Bruce. He just ends up in like really classic films. Like obviously that's a Quentin Tarantino movie, but he's in it.
You want to hear something, Steve? I hate Pulp Fiction.
Oh my God, how have we been friends this whole time?
It's the most overrated movie I think I've ever seen.
Well, we've got other stuff to get to, so we'll save this for another podcast, mister.
Yeah, we'll save this off air, the divorce off air.
The divorce. Okay, so Pulp Fiction, I liked Sin City a lot. And
Okay. Another one I'm not a fan of.
and aside from Hudson Hawk, you had 12 Monkeys. So yeah, that was basically my top three with like an honorable mention. Yeah, and I'll say that's definitely not GI Joe Retaliation. Like I feel like that's when he like kind of started to go downhill. When you get to the like fourth Die Hard and GI Joe 2, you could tell like he didn't want to be there anymore.
Although even the Expendables, maybe like the beginning, that may have been like the catalyst.
Sure, I can agree with that. So, I mean, that's the good of Bruce Willis, I would say. So, I mean, do you consider yourself like a Bruce Willis like fan? Like when you see that he's in something, like do you groan or you're like, oh, this might have like before the VOD stuff, like
Right. I was gonna say, well, it depends what year the movie was made, I guess.
Right.
But I mean, I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm like a fan. Like I wouldn't watch a movie just because he's in it. But I mean, I think he's decent actor.
Yeah, he's got
I
like
don't think he's bad or anything.
Yeah, he's got like a certain quality. I mean, he's not going to be doing Shakespeare or anything like that. But
yeah, actually, I'm sorry to backtrack, but I
just lost you, man, with your sound.
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
So just to backtrack a second here, I think my actual favorite Bruce Willis movie is The Whole Nine Yards. I forgot he was in that.
Oh,
And that movie's hilarious.
You despise Pulp Fiction, but you like The Whole Nine Yards, which is basically sort of that whole crime.
The Whole 10 Yards. Excuse me.
The sequel?
The whole, yeah.
There's two.
He's in both. I don't.
He's in both.
Yeah. I think I only watched the first one, The Whole Nine Yards.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that movie wouldn't exist without Pulp Fiction, let me tell you. But anyway, so are you ready to discuss Bruce Willis's foray into children's cartoons?
Yeah.
All right, let's do this.
Welcome to your feature presentation.
All right, before we dive too deep, had you ever even heard of this cartoon before I brought it to your attention?
Yeah, I had forgotten about it until you mentioned it, but I had heard of it before. I never watched it, but I remember seeing like the commercials and that kind of stuff. But what about you, Steve?
Oh, I am right there with you, man. I remember seeing the commercials and not being interested in the slightest. Back then, I don't even think I realized that Bruce Willis was involved, or if I did, I didn't care. But I mean, I had never even thought of this for many years, except for a coworker of mine he was singing that "We Don't Talk About Bruno" song from the latest Pixar movie or Disney movie or whatever it is, and he was like, "Hey, do you remember that show Bruno the Kid?" I'm like, not until right now. And so that brings us to today, in case you were wondering how I arrived at choosing this. And then the whole Bruce Willis quitting acting.
Yeah. I was wondering how like this came to you.
But anyway, so Bruno the Kid premiered September 23rd, 1996. It lasted for one season. And get this, 36 episodes in an animated movie. That is the power of Bruce Willis's name, brother.
Yeah, sure is.
And we'll just dive into the synopsis here. First, for the whole series, and it's an 11-year-old becomes the top spy for a top secret espionage agency. And then for the episode, which the title of the episode is The Adventure Begins, and it's the very first one. If anyone would like to watch this, you can watch it on Amazon Prime with commercials for free, though. And you can decide if you want to sit through those commercials or not.
Yeah, you can also watch it on Tubi for free.
Fantastic. So here's the episode synopsis. Colonel Muckbar buys the boom disc from Laszlo Gigahertz and threatens to blow up the Hoover Dam unless he gets $2 billion. So like a lot of cartoons, they don't have a director or voice director listed. They do have the creator here, Joel Madison. I couldn't find any of his other credits, so I guess he just made this and then quit the business. And we got the writer here, Bill Braunstein. Or is it Berenstein? Or is it Berenstain? You think about that. He's worked on or wrote scripts for Martin, Empty Nest, and that was before Bruno the Kid. And then after, somehow he parlayed his career into writing Rugrats, Pinky and the Brain, and Disney's Hercules, like the series cartoon.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, good for him for continuing to have a career. And this was produced, and I thought this was kind of interesting, by Bruce Willis himself and his brother, David Willis, who was actually, I never knew this, the producer of like a lot of his really big films, like most of them actually, from your Die Hards almost all the way down to your G.I. Joes. He was like either a producer or co-producer on all of them. And then the third producer, surprisingly, I mean, I don't know if he was asleep at the helm on this, but Phil Roman, who produced The Simpsons and Garfield in Disguise. Make sure you check out our classic Halloween episode about Garfield in Disguise, where Yahel and I were way too drunk and actually hanging out together in real life.
Yes.
So that takes care of that. What's up with the cast? I bet there's a bunch of nobodies in this movie or show.
Yeah,
am I right?
We've never heard of. Before I get into the cast, just to set the stage, this premiered September 23rd, 1996. The number one film at the time was I lost it here. I think it was actually, here it is. 12 Monkeys. Yeah, 12 Monkeys was the number one film. Oh, wait a minute. It was the number one film in January of 96. September was The First Wives Club, which I believe has come up before as a number one film. So we must have covered something else in this week, because the number one song this week was also, once again, the Macarena. I think this is like the second or third time it's come up. So really weird. But the second top album was, of course, The Return of Bruno re-release.
Yeah. No one ever, maybe no one remembers or no one talks about the fact that Bruce Willis had like a blues band there for a while. But yeah,
2 albums.
Yeah, that'll come up later when we talk about the theme song to this show.
The theme song, yeah. But yeah, so this Bruno thing with Bruce Willis, do you know the origins of the name Bruno?
I mean, that's his like blues name or nickname, basically.
Right. Yeah. So it was like a character that he like has as his blues, alter ego rock star or whatever.
But, like a Chris Gaines to Garth.
Yes. Yeah. But I did a little bit of digging into Bruce Willis's past, and apparently when he was living in New York, first trying to like make a name for himself in the acting biz, he bartended, and when he bartended, he referred to himself as Bruno.
All right.
So that was like his bartending. So this guy had a bartending alter ego.
I mean, I guess to get through the shifts, it would make things a little bit more interesting.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, maybe that name flew in the 80s, but what a like cheeseball name.
Yeah. In the chat, we've got Stadium Arts. He said, "Oh, nice. I didn't miss it. Woo. I think he meant phew. Whatever. Thank you for being here, Stry. Anyways, let's get into the cast. We do, of course, have Bruce Willis, who is the voice of Bruno. Bruno is an 11-year-old child, and Bruce Willis is the voice.
He was like 40-something when this was going on. Like, oh,
yes.
Man.
Bruce Willis at this point was getting a candidate. He would be a candidate for testosterone replacement therapy, yet here he is voicing an 11-year-old child, and it sounds like they just like digitally altered his voice, like pitch shifted it or something.
Barely.
Very slightly. Yeah, he sounds almost just like himself.
Yeah.
Anyways, we've got Earl Bowen. Earl Bowen, I didn't catch what character he did.
Right.
But I saw that he was like Silberman in the Terminator movies. Terminator 1, 2, and 3.
All right.
Dr.
Wow, man. There's a lot of star power in this show, sadly.
There really is. So we've got John Bauer, who he's got not a lot of credits. He had 9 credits to his career. Most of them are from Bruno, the Kid. We've got the legendary Tim Curry as Laszlo Gigahertz, which is like the main antagonist.
You mean basically Dr. Evil?
So so he's doing like the Austin Powers Dr. Evil thing, down to saying one. Well, go ahead.
Which came out this year.
I was just gonna say that too. They both, because I was like, wait, who copied whom? So I looked it up, and they both came out the same year.
Well, it's all a impression of Blofeld from James Bond. So yeah,
maybe it's just coincidence. Yep. We've got Jennifer Hale as Lacey Davidson. Jennifer Hale. I didn't really like see anything of note. She says like video games. So if you're into Mass Effect, maybe you're a fan of hers. Mark Hamill.
Who?
Who? I just watched an old horror anthology last night called Body Bags.
Oh yeah, that's John Carpenter. John Carpenter Body.
Yeah, Mark Hamill's at the end. You see his bare ass.
Yes.
Anyways, he plays Harris. You may know him from Star Trek, Star Wars,
Stargate.
Yeah, okay, my bad. Anyways, we've got Tony Jay as Warriors of Jarlsberg. He's an old man. He did voices like in a bunch of cartoons. It was really, you wouldn't know. Listener, you don't know him. Then we've got Kenneth Mars. I mean, it's true. Kenneth Mars, another guy who did a lot of voices. He was Inspector Kemp in Young Frankenstein.
Nice.
But he was also in Malcolm in the Middle for a bit. Anyways, then we've got Roger Rose. Why did I go through everybody? Roger Rose, who, again, a bunch of voice acting in, like cartoons and video games. And then we have Kath is her name, not Kathy, Kath, Kath, Susie. She's been in tons of cartoons, does tons of voices, Captain Planet, Rugrats, Tom and Jerry, Looney Tunes stuff. So yeah, that is your cast.
Roger Rose actually helped founded Guns N' Roses. Just letting you know.
Oh, a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people think it's Slash and Axl Rose.
They're brothers. They're brothers, half brothers, maybe.
I see.
It might be fake news. We'll see. But all right. Well, thank you for that. So I guess there's nothing left to do but to walk through this thing. Maybe before we dive in, I was going to save this to the end, but how do you imagine? All right, so I was diving through Bruce Willis's IMDb to see if I could make sense as to why he decided he wanted to do the voice for a kids cartoon, because he was still very much a huge star at this time. I mean, 12 Monkeys and Fifth Element came between those. These are huge movies. I thought maybe he did this when his star was starting to wane, before he got into, the M. Night Shyamalan movie that everyone says revitalized.
Sixth Sense.
Yeah, that's it. I thought maybe this happened around that time. But no, he was still a big deal. And it was just do you think his manager just came up to him and was like, hey, Bruce, I got a real quick way you can make some fast cash. We got this show called it's Something the Kid, but we can make it more towards whatever you want to do, Bruce. Whatever you want to do, buddy, you tell me and we'll do it.
From what I understand, Bruce Willis created the show.
But
from what I read,
it said that dude created it, the Madison.
Well, then they developed it together or something. But
I see. Right. Okay.
Yeah. So this is from the imagination
I knew
of
that
one
was coming.
Bruce Willis.
Oh man. All right. Well, I don't want to spoil too much more. We'll dive on in. Okay. So we open with we're looking at a sign. I guess it's supposed to be on a hotel. It's Cicero's Palace, which is obviously a parody of Caesar's Palace. The top sign is two dudes with a white tiger. Obviously, it's supposed to be Siegfried and Roy. But here...
Steve, sorry to interrupt, but the Obscuritron, is there something that's supposed to be playing?
Oh, yeah. I forgot to add that. Well, we're just going to have to go there for now. Yeah, let's... it's just pictures of Bruno. It's not a big deal. Yeah, that's my bad, those who watch, but just type in Bruno the Kid if you want to see images from his cartoon. That's my bad. Where are we? Okay, yeah. So, obviously, they're a parody of Siegfried and Roy. Already, I'm like, off to a bad start. Below that is a smaller sign that says "Welcome Thugs," and Thugs is an acronym for the Home Underworld Group Society. And below that, it basically says, definitely not a front for villains. And I wrote down, mildly amusing. Like this, I feel like there was definitely a trend in the 90s where like a lot of shows were parodies of stuff. Like, you got The Tick, which is obviously a superhero parody. And, shows like Earthworm Jim, which were also sort of, comical plays on like science fiction pulp characters and stuff. So I guess they're trying to jump in on that here.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
Yeah.
It was also like a very 90s cartoon thing to have like your villains have like an acronym for their group name.
Again, that's very James Bond, like, and also, of course, Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., which, S.H.I.E.L.D. is an acronym. So, moving forward, inside is a gathering of some pretty lame-looking villains. One looks like Colonel Sanders with a monocle. The other one ends up being, like, I guess the main bad guy for the episode, the Cold War-era Russian soldier. What was his name? It's said in the...
Akbar?
Yeah, that's it. Mukhbar. Yeah.
Mukhbar.
And then... I remember there's a blonde lady and a black lady opposite him, and in between them is a bald guy who kind of looks like what Bruce Willis looks like now. Did you notice that?
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
And then next to him is like another bald guy. So there's a lot of balding dudes in the world of.
It's almost like they didn't want to draw hair.
Yeah. Yes.
They were like, how can we save some time on animating this?
Right. Well, I think it's more tied to Bruce Willis's ego and his male pattern baldness. But we'll muse on that in a second.
I don't know, because Bruno the Kid himself has like almost no hair. Like,
that's what I'm saying. He's like, look, guys, I want to tell you, I don't want to have a lot of fully haired people in my cartoon. It's going to make me self-conscious. And they're like, okay, Bruce, whatever you want.
I don't think he's that self-aware.
Oh,
but
I don't know. Maybe he's the one who invented like the shaving your balding hair look. I think. I don't know. Don't quote me on that.
I think he made it like a cool thing.
Right. He did
like,
do that.
White bald guys can be sexy.
Right. So you're telling me you find him sexy, huh? Okay, moving on.
I'm telling you, we found him sexy.
All right. So they're all listening intently to one Professor Laszlo Gigahertz, who basically looks like you're a typical mad scientist. And I guess this would be a good spot to take a break. Like, how would you describe the animation style for this show? Like,
shit.
Yeah.
Is how I would describe it.
Yeah, it looks very childish for something that's making fun of like spies and espionage. In fact, I mean, I was gonna wait till we get to him in the episode, but Bruno himself doesn't look like an 11-year-old to me. He looks like a baby.
No,
he looks like a toddler.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know what they were thinking with that. Like, this is why I think like that dude Madison, he's the one who came up with this, idea for like a spy kid, and then somehow Bruce Willis got involved, and he's like, I'm gonna voice him, and he's like, you're a 40-year-old man. No, I'm gonna do it. Anyway, so yeah.
Now I'm gonna sing the theme song too.
Right, whether you like it or not.
And you won't like it.
Oh, you pretty much nailed it. Yeah. So anyway, Laszlo.
Steve, so sorry. More so than just the drawing style, and I think the character designs are really bad.
They are. They're the most basic. I would say they're newspaper cartoon strip. Like, it's just.
It looks. I was watching this with someone, and they were like, this looks like a child drew it.
Yeah, it really does. And not even like a sort of fun, stylistic way.
Right,
it's just lazy. And that's the key word for this entire show, I would say.
And the animation itself is like janky as
hell. It is the worst.
Very choppy.
I think it might be. I mean, we should probably save it to the end, but just keep it in the back of your mind. I think it might be the worst thing we've watched on this show.
No, there was something. What did we watch last week? There was some. Oh no, Surf Nazis Must Die.
No, I'm talking about in the terms of animation. Come on, man.
Oh, the animation quality. Oh my God, yeah, animation quality, the worst. And like the coloring on it, like did you notice like the coloring would like fade in and out because like they didn't like fully color it?
I actually
Like,
didn't notice
weird.
that, but I just noticed like scenes didn't really sync up very well.
Right.
And but anyway, let's we'll talk more about that at the end. So yeah, as Yahel said, Laszlo Gigahertz is voiced by Tim Curry, Tim Curry. And before I like read the IMDb and I was listening to this, yeah, I was like, man, this is just a bad Dr. Evil impression. But then when I even found out that it was him, I was like, ugh, like you could do so much better than that. But who knows? Maybe this was cutting edge at the time because, like we said, Austin Powers came out this same year, so
Yeah.
whatever. So he inserts this disc. And it says, press the execute button. And then on the monitor, it shows the small town, and the town just gets annihilated. I think possibly hundreds, if not thousands of people died.
Yes.
And then it only gets worse from there. Laszlo says he wants $1 million for the disc. And the thugs say, that's outrageous. And then in another sort of cringy, eye-rolling joke, he says he'll throw in the carrying case for free. Then he drops his like pointer wand on the keyboard, thus killing millions of other people and destroying another city. So this kids cartoon has no problem murdering people.
Yeah, as we'll see later, somebody is assassinated.
Yeah, and then we're treated to the hit theme song, composed by none other than Bruno, aka Bruce Willis himself, doing his like Roadhouse blues thing. And I mean, I'm no fan of that particular style of music. I mean, I would say the theme, at least in terms of that genre, sounds okay, but it's the wrong kind of style of genre for a spy show. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it doesn't make any. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And I would argue the song starts out okay, but it gets worse and worse. It gets like every as the song goes on and Bruce Willis tries to be soulful and put more into it, like it's not good, man.
Yeah.
It's like, have you ever like somebody like asked you to like try to drink something like that you've never had before, and you tried and you're like, as you're drinking, you're like, oh, this actually does taste pretty good. I thought it was gonna be bad, and then
you realize there's GHB in it.
Well, yeah, you get like the aftertaste. You're like, oh, this isn't good. This got worse. That's how I would describe the theme song. It got worse.
Yes, it did. But hey, if you ever wanted to hear Bruce Willis sing without actually trying to download the MP3s of his old projects, this is your chance. So yeah, all right. Now we cut to a fighter plane. You can hear the voiceover of Bruce / Bruno himself and a female of some kind, and they're like, they're deploying missiles, quick, and they he outmaneuvers the missiles, and then the female voice tells Bruno to level out the plane, but he can't, and the plane crashes, and you're like, oh, thank God, Bruno's dead. I don't have to watch any more of this. But, surprise, surprise. And I saw this coming from a mile away. It's a video game. Oh, you clever boy. It was a video game. Anything to comment about that lame start?
Yeah, like it was awful. Like you knew from the beginning, like something was up. And,
because you never saw anyone inside the plane. It was pretty obvious.
And then I love how immediately after they're done playing the arcade, they walk outside, like the friend that he's with. She says, Bruno, sometimes you scare me.
Right.
Like, whoa.
Yeah, Bruno and his female companion, they exit the arcade. And then this is where Bruno says, what's up?
I'm sorry, Steve. Do you remember why she was frightened by Bruno?
Because he just gets too into things.
Yeah, she said, yeah, like you get too into these games. Like she says you turn into someone else. That's like something that you'd like tell an alcoholic that you're trying to like get to stop drinking.
I mean, I guess to the writer, Bill Berenstein Bear, he's, I don't know, I guess trying to set up what's about to happen to to Bruno in a very sort of lame and obvious way. But, you know, I'm pretty sure the feeling here, as it is with a lot of the cartoons that we've watched in this show, is, we're just making this for kids. They don't care. Like, we can do whatever we want. But yeah, I think, like, he's trying to show that, oh, look at that, Bruno is about to, you know, create this avatar, which just happens to look like Bruce Willis and blah, blah, blah. You get what I'm saying.
Imagine that.
Yeah. So, yeah, they walk along, and this is when I noticed that the animation is just awful. There's like a wide shot of them walking, and there's like a pan, and it's just so bad.
Yeah, it looks weird.
Yeah.
And it almost looked like it had like a fisheye lens look to it, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was not good.
It was awful. Yeah, and I think, again, they're just trying to... I feel like the majority of the budget for this cartoon probably went to Bruce Willis, and then they just cut corners on the animation as much as they could. But anyway, we are back at Cicero's Palace, the casino/hotel. We pan through the casino, and a shady-looking trench-coated figure makes a call on a payphone. How dated. And I actually thought this was slightly humorous. Like, I wouldn't say that I actually snickered or made any kind of laughing noise, but I'm like, that's kind of funny. He gets a slightly humorous automated voicemail message. He's trying to... Apparently, this guy is a spy. You find out later. He's calling Globe, who is basically like the shield of this universe, or MI6, if you will. They're not too clear on that at the beginning, but it figures up later, and it goes, it asks him to choose between political upheavals, international espionage, or press 3 for club members. So he presses 3 because he's a member of Globe, and he says he's Agent 86, and the call is answered by all these men sitting in silhouette inside a giant, like, government-style war room, like straight out of Dr. Strangelove, if you will. And, like, a lot of these voices are also really awful. Did you notice how bad and, like, half-assed they were? Like,
yeah, and like the people in the silhouettes are like famous people. Like one of them is supposed to be Elvis.
Right. Yeah.
I think one of them maybe is supposed to be like Crocodile Dundee or something.
Yeah, he's like Australian, because it's like, I guess a meeting of international, I don't know, I guess you could call it the NATO or something like that, the NATO of the espionage world. So he says he's got info on the disc. He's talking about the disc. He says it causes anything with electricity to overload, which, I mean, how could
whatever that means?
Yeah, how could it make an entire town explode? Whatever. It's just a dumb cartoon. While he's talking, another shadowy figure pushes a slot machine by him. It gets 3 in a row and then starts paying out. It spits a bunch of coins on him. Basically, it buries him in coins and kills him.
Yep.
What'd you think about that?
And we know he's dead. Yeah. And we know he's dead because the guy that killed him with this, then he picks up the phone and tells Globe that agent's been terminated. He basically says that he's killed him.
Oh, it's much worse than that. He says Agent 86 has been 86'd.
Oh, that's what Globe says in response.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I think he says, I think the guy that kills him says like he's been terminated or something.
Right,
like that.
Something along those lines. So another human life has been snuffed out here.
Yeah. What did I think about that? I wish it was Bruno that had been standing in front of the machine.
I mean, I guess there's like, what's a humorous way we can kill someone off? Like, lift an entire slot machine, have it pay off, and then I guess to try to like cap it off with another joke, they have the waitress like put a drink in the guy's dead hands. Like,
she says like some dumb joke. Yeah,
it wasn't funny. I mean, it's not funny to kids or adults. Like, I don't know. Anyway,
I bet I know who it's funny to.
One Bruce Willis. Yeah, the Willis brothers.
I assume their relationship consists of like Bruce saying something and then David going, Bruce, you're the best. You're so right.
Right. Oh, I was going to make a joke at the top of the show that this is part of our Guys Named Bruce's month. Because we did Bruce Campbell before this. I mean, make sure you check out our episode on Briscoe County Jr., but that's just a joke. We're not going to do any more Bruces after this. Anyway, so now we're back with Bruno. He's in his room messing around on the computer, And wow, my jaw dropped when I saw that kick-ass CGI. I was like, Johnny Quest, The Real Adventures, who? Like this was like the worst. I kind of wish we would have watched this during our VR month, even though it's not VR. But what did you think of that CGI on the computer?
I mean, so this is 1997 that the show came out. So this was probably like made in 96. I mean, for 96 TV CGI, I guess it's okay. It's just odd.
Well, I just think, like, why spend your money on CGI? Like, why not put a little more into the animation or the writing, maybe?
Yeah.
They just really wanted to impress the kids.
You could have just filmed Bruce Willis, the human being that is, doing fucking bad blues songs for you. Just film him.
Yeah, just film him. Put like a one of those mosaics on it, like they did in VR5. Mess up the color. There you go. You got your CGI. Anyway, so yeah, he creates a bad CGI rendering of one Bruce Willis. It's like looks like Poser version 1. Like
yes, Poser. That's what they looked like. I couldn't quite like put my finger on it. And this comes up again. This stupid little CG head of Bruce Willis.
So yeah, this harkens back. I guess we might have skipped over it. When Bruno was chatting to his female friend, I can't remember her name. He says that, oh yeah, I'm really into stuff. In fact, I like to just go to my room and create characters for no reason and act them out. And this is just foreshadowing to this scene here, where he creates this bad CGI rendering of Bruce Willis and types up like all these spy skills and a bio for him. His mom calls him to dinner, and as Bruno leaves, he accidentally hits a key that I guess sends like the whole bio and the rendering off to Globe. Was this shades of another 90s animated show to you, Yahel? Starts with an F.
Starts with an F.
Come on, it's really good. You got this. Come on.
Have we covered it?
No, we haven't. We haven't, but I want to eventually.
90s animated show that starts with an F.
Freakazoid.
For the sake of the listeners.
Freakazoid.
Oh, that show. Yeah.
Oh, you don't like Freakazoid?
I mean,
well, you don't like Pulp Fiction, so where do we go from here? Anyway, Bruno talks.
I'm sorry, I'm a man of refined taste.
Whatever. Bruno talks to his mom at dinner. For some reason here, they felt a need to tell us that she's a real estate broker, and then they show his dad, who never speaks, writing a song on a piano. Like, I guess they wanted us to get a look at Bruno's home life, and then in the middle of eating, Bruno's, I guess he can feel his like CGI character like calling to him. He says, I have to go take a bath, Mom. Remember, he sounds like a 40-year-old man. And his mom's like, okay, go right ahead. So he goes back to the computer. There's a message from Globe/the government telling Bruno he's been hired as a secret agent. Because I don't know if you know, in real life, this is how every CIA and FBI agent has ever been hired, ever. And to meet his the operative at the airport tomorrow. So he shows up, and I'm at first, because I had a hard time catching the name, I just referred to this guy as Black British guy, but it's actually Jarlsberg, and it's weird because he's actually voiced by that Tony J, who's actually an old white British dude. But anyway, he says that he has to call HQ to talk about like why the big mix-up is, why this 11-year-old boy who looks like he's 6, who sounds like he's 40, got hired to be a spy. And and while Jarlsberg is making the call, a truck comes out of nowhere and hits the car that they were sitting in. Like, it was like a big limo with like a car phone.
But they have like this like giant conversation, like as it's like coming towards them, and where it's like, oh, have you ever played a game called Get Out the Way? And then the British guy is like, no, I haven't. I don't play games. Well, maybe you should start playing games. Well, maybe somebody should fucking fix the script. So this just goes on and on.
Yeah, that's the thing with Bruno, as you will see as we continue to make our way through this episode. Nothing phases him. He's got zero emotions of any kind. All he is like Bruce Willis style action hero catchphrases that aren't even funny. Oh, and he plays the harmonica, just like one Bruno, my former bartender from New York, used to do.
Yeah.
Bruno takes out a gun and blows up the truck. Like, they never showed him grabbing the gun or saying, "Ooh, I better take this gun that I modified at home from a super soaker or whatever." No, he just takes out a gun, blows up the truck.
Yeah, like, where did this little kid learn how to shoot guns? And,
He's just so smart, Yahel. I mean, obviously he's an honor student.
And presumably, like, he loaded the gun with bullets too, so he knows how to clean it too, and load it. And
maybe Bruno the Kid is that guy who just spends too much time on the internet in the 90s, reading the anarchist cookbook. You remember that?
Yeah. Remind me, Steve, did the truck explode after he shot it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it did.
This is another person that's been murdered, this time by our 11-year-old AARP card carrying
it's insane. It's absolutely insane. But hey, it was the 90s, right?
Yeah.
So then for some reason, I guess Jarlsberg is like, now I have to take you to Globe HQ so we can get to the bottom of this, which is like, just the laziest reason to take him along and get in the plane.
Yeah.
While they're flying, wouldn't you know, another plane attacks them. Wow. And of course, Bruno never freaks out. In fact, he takes the flight stick and murders the other guy in the plane. Wow. I mean, this is like a John McClane body count here in Bruno the Kid. Yeah. So Jarlsberg is so impressed with Bruno and his ability to murder people, he decides to give Bruno his first mission. And then
Steve,
what's up?
I don't think Jarlsberg was impressed. He's scared for his life.
Oh yeah, all right.
He just wants to, like, he doesn't want this kid to murder him next. So he's gotta keep him happy, baby.
He's like, my God, this is the Antichrist. Let me just give him this cool phone, and maybe he won't murder me. So yeah, basically he gets his James Bond gets all of his cool gadgets, and here in 1996/7, Bruno gets a cell phone.
Whatever the guy's name is, basically Bruno's Q from.
Right, he's like part of it. I was reading about the role that Mark Hamill plays, which I don't think is in this episode. And he's more of the Q, I think.
Oh, my bad.
No worries.
Well, I also noticed Renee Auberjonois is in the cast. Mr. Odo himself from Star Trek Deep Space Nine, but he was not in this episode.
Should I play the bumper?
No.
Yeah. Well,
I don't want this associated.
I can agree with that. Okay. So, he gets his cool cell phone. Now, cut to the thugs are meeting yet again, I guess, in pretty much their same meeting room at the Cesaro Casino/Hotel. Laszlo is auctioning off his disc this time. Then Bruno and Jarlsberg arrive at the hotel. Bruno magically figures out that just by looking at an elevator panel, that there's a hidden, 13th floor or something, and he basically just disappears into a air conditioner duct, or he just goes into it. Then Dr. Evil sells the disc to Muckrake, Colonel Muckrake, the Cold War Russian-looking guy, and just as he takes it, Bruno flies in through the vent and says, "Mind if I drop in?" Because that's what passed as wit in '96, or at least in the world of Bruno the Kid. So of course they capture Bruno, and Colonel Muckbar monologues his entire plan. Says he's going to destroy the Hoover Dam. And then they try to feed Bruno to white tigers, and the tigers are closing in. And again, they never show him grabbing this ahead of time. He could have pulled it out at the beginning of the episode and been at least I have my lucky harmonica, which was a gift from my dad, who never pays any attention to me because he's always writing songs on the piano. He just pulls out a harmonica out of nowhere.
Yeah. As you do when you're 11.
Starts playing it and lulls the tigers to sleep. And I wrote down here, wow, anything to massage Bruce Willis's ego. Like, cause he's I wonder, like, in what other ways, like, Bruno the Kid is like Bruce Willis. It's like, hey, like, I love Bruce, or like, I love brunettes, so I want Bruno to like brunettes. He's like, oh, but Bruce, he's only 11 years old. No. Like, I don't know. All right. So Bruno then appears next to, just out of nowhere, appears next to Jarlsberg, who's just standing in the casino. He's not even really doing anything. He's just standing, if I remember correctly.
Sort of jarring cuts.
Yes, there's a lot of jarring cuts. And, like, that's one...
Where you're like, huh? How did they get to there? Like, why? Yeah. That's not where they were last time?
Yeah, they're just trying to save as much money as possible so they continue to give Bruce Willis his rate. And did you ever notice on IMDb, like, how much other voiceover work Bruce Willis did? Because it was quite a bit. But here, he sounds awful. There's, like, no I feel like this was his first, like, voiceover gig ever. But anyway.
Maybe.
So Colonel Muckbar looks at a computer screen and then says he's going to destroy the Hoover Dam. And he's already at the Hoover Dam or somewhere. I can't even really remember. Bruno shows up out of nowhere and says, "Not so fast, Muckface." Ooh, quality writing.
Got him.
Yeah.
Got him.
Muckface takes off, or Muckbar takes off in a helicopter, holding the disc in his hand. He's like waving it around like this. He's like, oh, once I use this, I'm going to destroy the Hoover Dam. So Bruno, just out of nowhere, I mean, you can only assume maybe off camera, they like figured out this plan. Bruno nods to Jarlsberg. Jarlsberg throws him a whip that I guess he took when he was about to be devoured by the white tigers. Again, they never showed him bringing the whip with him. He whips the disc out of the colonel's hands, and he drops it right into Bruno's hands. And, of course, Jarlsberg says, he's getting away. And Bruno says, Bruno uses the disc with his new handy-dandy cell phone to magically override the computer and the helicopter. The helicopter falls in the water. Colonel says, you haven't seen the last of me. And Bruno very wittily replies, yeah, maybe in my nightmares. Ha, 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 ha. Yeah. And so, yeah, all these millions of people died in this episode, but not the Colonel. He was just, like, floating on a piece of, like, wood or whatever.
Yeah.
And any comments on the... I guess this is our climax here.
Yeah, at one point when I think it's Bruno's plane, like, kind of flips over, we see it from the bottom, it looked like a penis and testicles. like very plainly, like the way they made the missiles, they ended up looking like two testicles. I'm like, this had to be on purpose because missiles are like long and thin, but they made these like basically like thick ovals. Like, what is he dropping? Atomic bombs? Like,
I did not notice that. I'll take your word for it, though. I mean, we all know those sneaky Disney animators always sneak at all those like sex jokes and stuff.
These animators on this show couldn't even work as a janitor at Disney Animation Studio.
You're probably right. I wouldn't fault the animators. I would just say that they were probably not paid enough and probably did not have enough time to make 36 episodes of Bruno the Kid look good.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Jarlsberg says he's going to send Bruno back home. He congratulates him. Which I was like, what? Like, I thought he was supposed to give him his next mission. Well, fast forward, Bruno is back at home, about to go to bed. I wrote down here CGI disco ball. Do you have any idea what that means?
Well, yeah, when like Bruno is using the avatar of Bruce Willis to talk to Globe, so that they continue to think like he's a man in his 40s. It's like he made it seem like he was in a nightclub or something.
Oh, right.
And he had like flashing lights inside of the simulation or whatever. And in the background, there wasn't like a disco ball, but there was like some weird white light.
Yeah,
thing.
Yeah, it was weird. Yeah.
And he's like says something which I laughed out loud. It was just so stupid. As he's pretending to be Bruce Willis, talking to Globe. He says, they're like, oh, it's good to see you celebrating, Bruno. And he's like, yeah, the nightlife in Vegas is stupendous or something like that. It's unbelievable.
He's like, yeah, I'm getting a blowjob right now. I'm like, Bruno, please,
Right.
you're 11 years old. Yeah. So basically, he hacks Globe's computer and Skypes with them. And yeah, that basically is what leads to his next 35 missions of Bruno the Kid. My God. So yeah, we already answered the question on why we think Bruce Willis made this cartoon. Actually, I had that wrong. He made this after Fifth Element and before Armageddon. So, I mean, there's really the only answer I could come up with as to why he made this was shameless cash grab. Because, like, you know, you and I are, I would say, fans of animation. I assume Bruce Willis probably comes from that generation where they only think that, you know, cartoons are for kids. So the only reason to do one is for money, right? And to perform the theme, of course.
Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, yeah, but is Bruce Willis the kind of guy that would just take on a crappy part for a check, Steve? Does he seem like... Do we have any evidence? Wait, we've got 2017 through 2022 as evidence. Okay, my bad. There's a lot of evidence.
Yeah.
It turns out he was on an episode of The Orville though. Yeah, like I think you're right. I mean, obviously this is like also kind of a vanity project, right? Because like Bruno is named after his alter ego or whatever. I don't know. Maybe he thought like his kids would think it's cool.
I was wondering
like,
that too. I mean, there's just not a lot of information about this on the internet, at least in far.
Yeah, I tried looking for like old articles about the show, interviews with Bruce about it. I mean, I couldn't really find much of anything.
Yeah, I wonder why.
I did, however, when I was going through the cast list, like just people that have appeared, like there's some surprising names that appear. Like they all just have like one episode, but actually, this person has 2 episodes. Bronson Pinchot.
Oh wow, Balky for Perfect Strangers. Fantastic.
I love Perfect Strangers. We should cover that. John Rhys Davis.
Wow.
Shows up. Ben Stein shows up. Judy Tenuta, and that's a name from the past. There were a couple more. Already said Renee Auber-Jonas. Dave Coulier.
Oh, nice.
Armin Shimmerman, who played Quark in Deep Space Nine, he pops in for an episode. Jim Belushi, that's what I was looking for. And of course, who do you get for your kids show? Ed McMahon.
What kid doesn't like Ed McMahon? I mean, well, this just shows, like, you know, the star power of one Bruce Willis. I'm sure he either has to pick up the phone or have his brother or agent pick up the phone and be like, hey, Bruce is doing a project. You want to be involved? And he's like, yes, I do. Bueller.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. All right, let's run this bumper and put a nail in this coffin.
Next with the question.
So, Agent Velazquez of Globe, S.H.I.E.L.D., and whatever organization you want to be a part of. The NWO Latino version only, not any other ones.
Yes, the LWO.
Yes.
What they were called.
I don't know why that cracked me up. Do you think that Bruno the Kid should be remembered for all of human history, or tossed into the black pit of obscurity, never to be heard from again? And explain your answer.
We've added stipulations. Yeah, I think this should not be remembered by anyone. Alzheimer's runs in my family, and I am now for the first time hoping I one day get Alzheimer's, so I can forget about this shit. Yeah.
Wow.
It was not good. It was not good at all. Animation's bad, like we discussed. The writing is worse or just as bad as the animation. The voice acting is some like Tim Curry does a good job. He's like the only kind of like fun part of the episode for me. But yeah, it sucks. The theme song sucks. The story sucks. I don't like my planes to be genitals. How do you feel about it, Steve?
Oh man, I can only basically echo what you said there. The animation is trash. The writing, oh god, the character is so underdeveloped. Like, I thought maybe he was gonna become a spy, or maybe he just spends too much time on the computer because his parents like don't pay enough attention to him or something. But we clearly saw that he's got a caring mom. Like when they had like the scene when they had dinner, like there was basically nothing interesting about Bruno the Kid other than the fact that he's voiced by a 40-year-old man and for some reason is going bald despite the fact that he's in the 6th grade. Yeah, I mean, I put down here that I think I'd rather watch James Bond Jr. than this. And then I'd like to pose the question once again. Is this the worst cartoon/animated show that we've watched since we started this show? Because I'm going to tell you, I think it is too. So,
it is.
To bring all that to a close, you are getting tossed into the black hole of obscurity. Goodbye, Mr. Bruno.
The heathens have spoken. You are obliterated.
Whew, I have never been more happy to see something erased from existence than what just happened. I lost you again. Sound what?
Yeah, it was very, very, very bad.
Yeah.
Like boring, man. Like it's 22 long minutes, man.
Yeah, and the thing that, I mean, even if you're a Bruce Willis fan, if you were to go and watch this, you would just be disappointed. You'd have that question going in the back of your mind, just like what I assume, and I know I had, and I'm sure you had too, where you're just like, why, Bruce? Why? I mean, if you're going to do it, at least do it well. I mean, Bruce Willis in the 90s was huge. Like, there's no reason why this cartoon should be as bad as it was.
Well, hopefully we'll get the Bruno the Kid gritty anime reboot
from Warner Brothers. Man, I tried to watch like the new. Because someone said it was done by a person who had directed one of the Lupin the Third animated movies. I tried to watch the new like Catwoman animated movie. It sucked. From Warner Brothers. Yeah, I don't know. I thought I'd bring that up for some reason. It's just more sad than anything. But sure. So, anything to promote today in the shill zone, as I like to call it?
We should call it in honor of Bruce Willis. We should call it the Bruce Willis
zone. Yeah, the Willis zone. Yeah.
yeah. Since he is quite a shill. No, I have nothing to promote other than I would recommend people don't watch this. That's what I'm promoting. Not watching.
I think you should start an entire group, like just like the LWO. In fact, that. But maybe a little more inclusive. I don't know. I'd like to join it. Is what I'm saying. Nothing much going on here. I've basically finished issue 1. It's basically ready to go to the printers. I'm having a friend take a look at it and make sure there's no spelling mistakes. Yesterday, I went out to WonderCon for my first time ever. It was okay. The best part was I got to go to a panel that had all the founding fathers of the Ultraverse. Aren't you excited about that? You too, listeners?
I love the Ultraverse. It used to be the second worst cartoon that we...
What? I thought you...
I'm just joking. Relax.
Man, I'm finding the more and more I find out about you, the more I feel like this podcast was a huge mistake. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for us here at Obscurity Now. One thing that I always forget to mention when we're closing out here is like, what did you think of Bruno the Kid? Audience? Comment in the comment section if you're a YouTube watcher, or you could always comment on the Twitter, which is at Reptilian Media. You can't miss it. Other than that, We'll catch you next Sunday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, as we continue to discuss even more obscure media, only on Obscurity Now. See you next week.
You've been enjoying Obscurity Now, a podcast that's recorded live to tape and streamed to Twitch and YouTube. Subscribe so you never miss an episode or hilarious quip. Take us with you by following the download links provided in the show notes to wherever you get podcasts. And take notice of our various social media links. If that's what you're into, I'm not here to judge. And make sure you join us live next week at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific as we continue to discuss more obscure media only on Obscurity Now.